Then guys, I mentioned him before and I will keep mentioning the next days. Next week will be important, very important next week for the future of Benjamin Šeško. Newcastle are going very big with this contract proposal ready for the player, and they are also ready to approach Red Bull Leipzig. So Newcastle are going very strong for Benjamin Šeško, and they are prepared to make important things happen for the Slovenian striker. So Newcastle will go big next week. Manchester United are still discussing Benjamin Šeško internally. It's an expensive deal, so it's not easy, but don't forget the gentleman agreement I told you. For some clubs indicated by Benjamin Šeško as special clubs for him, the price of the Šeško package can be 70, 80 million euros fixed, 5, 10 million euros in advance. So this gentleman agreement between Šeško and Leipzig, in very good relationship, the player, the agent and the club, can be an important factor, with Newcastle going very big and with Manchester United discussing strikers and Šeško internally.
We reported that Manchester United are closing in on a deal to sign Benjamin Šeško. Within that, we revealed that Newcastle United actually had a bid accepted yesterday, Tuesday, worth 82.5 million euros plus 2.5 million euros in add-ons. So a deal worth 85 million euros. Despite that, this is swinging in Manchester United's direction because it is their belief at Old Trafford and the belief of everybody else involved in the deal now, so Newcastle United, RB Leipzig and various other parties, that the player wants to join Manchester United, that is his choice. And so we'll have to see as and when a deal is going to be agreed between United and RB Leipzig, because that hasn't happened yet. I think there is optimism around it, and this is moving forward towards a conclusion as we speak, but it's not quite there yet. But I think the shift is now pronounced, that Manchester United are in the driving seat to close out a deal with RB Leipzig, and reluctantly, and not for the want of trying, Newcastle United know that the game is pretty much up on this particular player, and they'll have to set their sights elsewhere.
Yeah. Let's go, because it looks like Manchester United will be the place for the Slovenian striker.
Yeah, everybody seems to be reporting that he has chosen Manchester United. That's his preference. United over Newcastle, who of course were also strongly linked with him. And yeah, you can all see that fee, which is a lot of money. But you know, you're getting a guy who I think most people agree has an incredible toolkit and a really, really high upside, even though he's not coming off a particularly good season. And of course, there's a lot of questions, which I'm sure we're going to go through. How accustomed is he to leading the line on his own? And obviously, how is he going to adapt to the Premier League? And he's still very young. And what actually happened last year? Was it just Leipzig kind of like dragging him down? But yeah, they've made their move, and looks like it's Šeško.
Ali, what do you make of this one? Are you a fan of this one? We spoke about it a lot on the show yesterday, and everyone was kind of questioning on whether, as Gab said, he is the one to lead that line for Manchester United, if he's good enough to carry Manchester United potentially into the top half of the table.
Well, I agree that there is a toolkit, as Gab addressed it there, that can be impressive when you see the physicality of the player, and yet you see in terms of the skill set that he's able to play with the ball at his feet, that he's able to dribble, that he's able to combine. You put all those things together and you kind of go, man, this guy is a world beater. And then you watch him play every weekend, as I was tasked to do all of last season in Bundesliga play. And I can tell you that this is a player that in moments can be outstanding. In fact, 2 or 3 games at a time can be outstanding, and then goes missing for long periods of time. Look, he was in the same front line with Luis Openda and Xavi Simons, players who in Bundesliga and really in any league should be very productive players. And when you look at Leipzig last season, part of the issue that they had is that for all the possession and ball control that they had in matches, they were unable to consistently put teams away by scoring goals consistently. And that's a word that I would use time and time again when I talk and describe Benjamin Šeško. He is inconsistent. He is yet to mature as a player, and to really mature as a player that can look to be not only the guy leading the line, but consistently, again, I'll use that word, combined with other players around him. The talent and the skill set seems to be there, but he hasn't pulled it all together just yet. If you're a Manchester United fan, you hope that that's happening sooner rather than later.
Frank, let me go to you on this one, because the offers from Manchester United and Newcastle were pretty similar, and we heard from Jan just last week when I asked him about the preference of the player, and it seemed like he always did want to go to Manchester United. If you were in his shoes, would you have chosen United now over Newcastle?
Right now, no, of course not. You know, according to what I see from Manchester United and what I saw last season, for example, and the season before from Newcastle, no, you will go to Newcastle because you know that, I would say that in terms of results, you are pretty sure that you can fight for the Champions League or the Europa League with Newcastle, where we have doubts about that club, which once have been one of the best clubs, if not the best club in the world, and is not anymore. So it's a dream for him. So let's allow him to fulfill his dream. But I have to say that no, I wouldn't go if I was him, but if I were him, sorry. But it's what he wants. And on the other side, I was listening to Alejandro. It's hard for Manchester United to catch the top of the top right now because of what I said. Because Manchester United is not the club that it used to be. So you get players who you have doubts, who can be inconsistent, and that's where the level is right now for Manchester United.
I'll tell you what, when Frank calls me Alejandro, it shook me up a little bit.
Reminds you of your dad?
Like you're in trouble?
With a French accent as well. I felt it. Did you feel it?
I felt it. Serious Frank. Full name, government name. Shaka, well, I guess if we're going to take from what Frank says, it sounds like Šeško's making a big mistake then not choosing your Newcastle.
I most certainly would agree. Listen, I'm going to try my best not to show my bias, but to Frank's point, while Manchester United have a history about them, where they are right now is not one that leans into that history. And at 22 years old, Šeško coming to the Premier League, trying to decide between two clubs. One, at the very least, has Champions League for this season. The others are, well, last season's finish was a long way off. You just wonder if that. I thought that would have been a greater motivating factor than a history of 10 or 15 years ago, or whatever it may be. Now, also to that point, while I as a player, and again, I understand it. As a player, you always back yourself. It's part of who you are. It's part of your identity. Every single player who makes it to this level backs themselves regardless. So he sees himself as that missing piece for Manchester United to go in there and make United who they were 10 or 15 years ago, as I referenced. But now, me being on the outside looking in, I question whether that's the right move for him. He's young. I don't think he's the player to lead the line for Manchester United in that way. He's still developing, and kind of given a lot of the dysfunction that you've seen around Manchester United, I question again if it's the best move for him and his development.
Gab, you heard from the boys there. Anything you want to add before we push on?
Yeah, no, just the flip side is from Newcastle's perspective, and so it makes me slightly skeptical about the Newcastle side of it, is Alexander Isak is still a Newcastle player. For the time being. There's no guarantee that he's going to leave, that he's going to move to Liverpool or whatever. If you're Šeško, I think you're also taking that into account. The possibility that, hey, what happens if Isak ends up sticking around? I know Isak can play on the wing, but are they really going to shift him on the wing to make room for me? So I think that played into it as well. But yeah, beyond that, I agree with you. He's a young player and he needs time to grow. And he will have asked himself, what is the right club for me to grow as a player? Is it United or is it Eddie Howe in Newcastle?
All right, well, Newcastle in a little bit of a spot of bother now, considering the fact that Alex Isak seems to be wanting